That's definitely like, I went to, like I said, a very private school. And so everybody had the BMWs, Teslas,
Right. Yeah. And what did you drive?
Lambos, a 95 YJ manual that broke down every other day.
And how was it painted?
Like a Jurassic Park Jeep.
So it's like Lexus, Mercedes, Jurassic Park Jeep.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello everyone, I'm Barry Out with Motorhead Digital, and my co-host is Annette Bauer with Annette Bauer Creative. We're excited to welcome Riley Schlick, the talented owner of Riley's Rebuilds, to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. Over the past 5 years, Riley's carburetor rebuild business has grown and flourished as she now leads a team of 4 high school students rebuilding carburetors in their garage to earn money for car projects, insurance, gas, and to have a little fun along the way. In 2022, Riley's business went viral on social media, capturing the attention of the automotive aftermarket nationwide. Since then, she's been featured in top magazines and TV shows including Stacey David's Gears, All Girls Garage, Caffeine and Octane, and many more. Riley and her dad even have their own TV show with Hemmings called Repair to Rev. Using this momentum, she's expanded her business and invested in a 1966 Ford Fairlane, where she's documenting the restoration process to inspire other young car enthusiasts. As a passionate youth ambassador for the automotive aftermarket industry, Riley is an influential figure shaping the future of our next generation of gearheads. We're pumped to have Riley on board, so let's dive in.
Good morning, guys. All right. So, Riley, I have your name, but Dad, I don't have your name. So, what's your name?
I'm Dane.
Dean?
Dane, D-A-N-E, Dane.
Oh, Dane. Okay, sorry about that.
Also known as the Dadager is what.
Nice. Well, welcome to Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. We're so excited to have you guys both here. Riley, I'm really excited about your story and how you have come up in just the ranks of wanting to learn more about the automotive industry, get your hands dirty with it. So as we kind of jump into this, we always start every podcast with a little bit of a different question. And we're going to kick that off right now. So Riley, however you celebrate your days, your favorite moments, what is your favorite drink?
Drink?
Yeah. So, like, I will give you an example. Like, I love chocolate milk. That's my favorite drink.
I'm a big Diet Coke fan. I would say that or an Arnold Palmer, like a sweet Arnold Palmer. Has to be sweet iced tea.
That's a Southern thing.
I'm the Southern thing.
And Dane, what about you?
Black coffee. Unfortunately, I probably live on it. It's bad for me. It just is what it is. The Keurig machine is way too conveniently located in our house.
Is.
Oh, it's terrible.
You and the Keurig machine are very good friends.
The last one that died, I bought like this super industrial restaurant style.
Wow, you're committed.
Yeah, I know. It's so bad.
I always hate going to hotels and you walk in and go, there's no Keurig in here. I have to do it the old-fashioned way. And it's like
the old-fashioned drip coffee.
Get with the program, guys.
Right. Exactly. You're like, I can't stay here. I got to go.
Exactly.
Cool.
Very cool.
Well, Riley, we met, you and I met, and I met Dane at SEMA after the banquet. We had a little bit of a conversation there. I've been following you quite a while online, and very intrigued by how you got started all this rebuilding carburetors. And what we want to understand is, how'd you get into that? And we'll talk about some other stuff as far as your team and everything.
Yeah, so originally it was because of him. So he's always been a hobbyist, and he was a stay-at-home dad for a little bit. So I grew up in the garage. Like my crib was located in the garage. And that sounds bad.
I know.
Like during the day, I didn't sleep in the garage. When he was there, able to see me, I was in the garage.
Listen, stuff's got to get done, right? I don't care that I got a child. Stuff's got to get
That's
done.
commitment, Dad. Good job.
And I grew up very tomboy. Like, obviously, I was raised more male dominated. He was a wrestling coach, so I'd always go to the wrestling mats with him when I was really young. So I grew up around a lot of boys, teenage boys. Dressed very much like a guy, acted very much. So, like, I knew I wanted to be that, like, really cool, like, bro girl that wanted to, like, be able to work on cars and not need a guy to help me out with that kind of stuff. And so when I was about 13, I was like, I want my first car. I also want to be able to know the ins and out of it. I want to be able to be broken down on the side of the road, be able to call Dad and be like, it's this and this. So go to the auto shop to get parts. And so he said, okay, like, who's going to buy it? I was like, you, of course. And he said, no.
Dad.
And he said that he would match anything that I made for the first couple months just to start getting the ball rolling. I don't think he understood how easy that ball would roll because I made what I needed to in the first couple months.
Yeah.
But he turned to the garage and was like, go flip something, go find something, flip it. And we had done like exhausts beforehand, manifolds, stuff that you can soda blast really easily and flip. He was like, why don't you check out the carburetor? And I did, and he explained what it was with the like YouTube video on it. And I learned how to do it. He oversaw all of them for a little bit. And that's kind of just how it, like, it stuck. And then I started buying all across Florida.
Yeah. And I got parts out of the garage, which was awesome. Cleaned out my garage a little bit, which was fantastic. She made some money. And I think we had a deal with her. Any parts in the garage that she repurposed and sold on eBay, we would split the profits. And so she did that for a while. And then, yeah, the carburetor thing, like, she did all the carburetors in the garage and then all my buddies' carburetors. And then it was like, you needed a whole, like, surplus of carburetors. You needed a supply, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go out and just watch YouTube videos on rebuilding carburetors? Did you find old manuals to figure out how to do it?
A little bit of both. We did the YouTube videos to deassemble, and then we took a lot of photos of the inside and then just followed the YouTube videos. There's certain specs that we put the carburetors back to, so that did take some research and looking at the manifolds, but manuals. And so that did take a little bit of time, but once we also started looking at Facebook groups, all this different stuff, they actually had some of the specs on there. So, like, there's a bunch of different needles and springs and jets that you can switch in and out. So originally when we first started, we were checking all of those to make sure everything matched up properly, because that's what people were buying. Now it's a little bit different because people do their own modifications. So, like, they're like, oh yeah, we have these kind of jets, these kind of rods. And sometimes, like, we're just like, you put in what you put in. And if you want something different, tell us. Otherwise, we'll put it right back the way you had it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. So your story really resonates with me. Just like the relationship of how you guys really kind of bonded with one another and started with something that, one, Dane, that you already had a passion for, and Riley, you knew, like, hey, this is something I want to do independently. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be able to take care of myself, right? So when I was a kid, my dad kind of did the same thing that Dane, you did for Riley. And he, like, when I was really little, he would just give me a wrench and be like, just go find something to do, right? Like I was little and he was like, I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff. And it really kind of started when I was old enough that I knew what the wrench fit on, and I stripped every bolt that the wrench could fit on. And so my dad said, okay, you need something to keep you productive now.
Yeah.
And he made a deal with me and said, here's a lawnmower engine, and said, if you can take it apart and put it back together and it runs, then I will teach you how to work on a car.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Oh.
So I did that. And then my dad taught me, just like Riley, you know, you've been working with your dad to, you know, like get really involved in the automotive space. So I think that that's super cool.
How old were you when you did that?
Oh gosh, I was young. I was probably 10, 11.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
was super young because like my dad was like, okay, you're creating more havoc than you're helping. So let me give you some busy work.
What was my busy work for you?
He would stick tape under his car and send me under a little like back
On the creeper. And I'd go get all the tape. And she'd go under there on the creeper and start pulling tape.
Heck yeah, but when I was a kid, shoot the creeper was super cool.
Yeah.
I felt useful because I was the only one that could fit under it.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Hey,
right.
that's an important role.
It was an important job.
Do it.
I would give her a sanding block with a paper towel on it. And so she thought she's block sanding with me. She's going down the panel.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, my dad was a DIYer, so he was always, getting manuals and figuring out how to fix his own stuff. And I remember sitting out in the garage watching him do drum brakes on a 63 Rambler station wagon. That's where I got into it. So
This kid's been traumatized by drum brakes.
yeah, absolutely.
What kid hasn't?
Yeah. It's like you have to do drum brakes to appreciate disc brakes. That's the
Right.
thing.
Right. Absolutely. I just think that's super cool. So great job, both of you.
Thank you.
So Riley, you have a whole team working with you. And a lot of our conversations on this podcast is how to get younger people involved in the industry. And also, so younger people watch this, they go, oh, wow, I can do that. I can get into that. So tell us about your team. Your dad told me some cool stuff the other day about business elements of it.
Yeah, so originally when we first started, so it's about 2 years ago, we went viral. So I had cleaned out Florida of all the carburetors. And so I put out online that I needed to resource other carburetors. And that went viral. That had over 3 million views and interactions in 3 days.
Wow.
And we had over 300 free carburetors on our doorstep in the next 4 weeks.
Really? Wow.
You went from none to whoa.
So,
Yeah.
And your dad's going, we just cleaned all the space out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a picture of the garage door opening because both she and I were on. I was on a business trip. She was on a fun trip.
Yeah.
And my wife's picking up all the boxes. They're coming in. She had to bring a wheelbarrow to the end of the driveway for the mailman because there was 10 boxes every day, right?
Oh my gosh.
He had to bring an extra truck one day for all of them. So
Dang.
we opened the garage door and there's literally just a mountain of poorly wrapped carburetors.
Yeah. And so
ask and
also,
ye shall receive.
yeah.
Exactly.
And our eBay listing was also going really
Explain
crazy. So we do rebuilding services for people. So they send their carburetors to us and then we rebuild them for them and then send them back. So they had that one crazy too. So I had so much work that I had started to slowly be like, hey, do you guys want to come help?
With your
To my friends. And then I asked my girlfriends if they wanted to come and help, and they liked it. And I started doing it and started coming more and more and more. And they were making more in a week with less time than they were at their part-time jobs. So they quit all their part-time jobs and came to work for me fully. And he had to sit down with all the parents and explain that this was a real job.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't just a phase.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah, it's a real
do
skill.
yeah, and we need to do some business paperwork kind of thing,
It
right?
was to families who were never in the auto industry, and we go to I used to go to a very private school, and so they sometimes look down upon the industry, and so that's kind of what they saw originally coming into it. But then they saw that the girls were genuinely in the garage. That was another big thing. Yeah. They thought maybe the girls weren't actually in the garage and they were lying to their parents and that they were just hanging out. Yeah. And we showed them and we showed the whole thing and all the families came in. And so the families got on board because they were underage. We did a lot of for the business aspects, we did a lot of permission, waivers and all that stuff. And then we slowly started introducing them to the social media page, and everybody loved them. Yeah. And they started coming to all the shows with us. And then it was me and my 4 girl best friends for a while. And then we all went off to college. And during the summer before we all went to college, I knew that we needed somebody to hold base. And I have a little brother, and his name was Graham. He was going into freshman year at that time. And we had a couple other friends that were around his age that we talked to, brought in. We had one of our neighbors, and we had him, and then we had one of the siblings of one of the girls come and help for a little bit. And then Graham on his own started reaching out to kids at our school and started bringing them into the auto industry, and they it was a bunch of girls too.
Yeah, he hired his own workforce.
Yeah, he just went around, and he learned from my mistakes too, which was really good. He found people who really wanted to do it, who really had an interest but didn't have the family who knew any of it. So he found a great little bunch of workers.
Yeah. So
did they start doing it because they were really interested in it and they wanted to learn, or was it just initially for the money? I'm just curious.
The first group was
the money. Yeah. We had one that was somewhat into cars, but the other 2 were just there for the fun and being in the garage all together. We could talk and interact, and they were there for the money. It was really good money. And then the little ones now are definitely there for the fact that they like cars and for the money.
Yeah. We got a crew now that are 14-year-old. There's 3 girls and 2 boys. Yeah. And they are absolutely ravenous for car information. We bring them to car shows and to shops in the neighborhood, around town. And we got to bring a couple of them to the Top Fuel races in Bradenton. Cool. Oh my gosh. One of them, Audrey, she had never stepped foot on a drag strip before in her life. And we got her literally at the Christmas tree between 2 funny cars, between Ron Capps and John Force. Yeah.
Nice.
And 24,000 horsepower shook her world. The very first time she ever experienced a drag race was that. I mean, you can't.
Oh man, that's
it was
awesome.
Fantastic. It was so great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about bringing the youth into the industry a little bit, I think we brought them in, or they've seen really the best side of the industry. Yeah. I think it's really, when I grew up looking at the industry, all I saw was really scary men and really mean people who would bash on what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Getting into the industry, that was totally the opposite. Obviously you have your outliers, but I think everything was outweighed way more. And the outliers came at the very beginning, and I haven't seen really much since. Because we've also at 17, you put down a lot of restrictions, and we've kept those. So it's you will never see a midriff in any of my photos ever, personal or anything. Right. All my numbers banned between 10 p.m. and 7 in the morning, because I used to get 3 a.m. calls and I'd freak out thinking it was one of my girlfriends. Mm-hmm. A lot of the international.
Yeah, we turned off
some of the international stuff.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And then anybody who's disrespectful or vulgar, any blocked immediately. I don't care if you have thousands of carburetors to do business with. That's not what's going to happen. And it was really nice too, because when I was younger, he would filter through a lot of the comments before I would see any of the comments. I think that also helped a lot with like my mental health going through this too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But we also have a great following, and they jump on whoever's doing this. So
we have 100,000 grandfathers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the cool parts about it is that, like, once you build that following of people who are like, man, I love what you're doing. I think that, you're not only as a female, but as a female in a man's world, let's be real, it's taking on a different approach, and people now become like your cheerleader, right? Yeah. They become somebody who is very defensive to anybody who comes in saying something different, because we all know that there's a ton of keyboard warriors out there who all think that they know better and all seem to have the right advice in their mind, but that doesn't make them right. So kudos for Dad kind of being there and being that, knight in shining armor to shield that initially. And as you learned that process, Riley, of figuring out like, hey, these are what my ethics and my values are, because this is what I believe in. This is what our family believes in. And this is what the baseline of my business believes in. So I think it's great that you have stuck with that and you continue to build off of that, and you'll continue to be successful when you do that. So great job.
Yeah. And stay positive. I'm sorry. Stay positive and don't let those comments get into your head, because there's a lot of angry and mean people out there that can mess with your head, right? So I'm glad that you're focused on that, and your dad initially helped with that to say, look, she doesn't need to see this.
Yeah, and I totally rambled on how to get kids into the auto industry. Normally what we say is just be willing to teach them. A lot of kids, especially now, don't have auto in their high schools. Right. A lot of my friends don't have it. My school never had it. We are fortunate enough to have found girls and guys who are very interested in it. And I think creating a really good space for younger generations and then promoting that the space is welcome to people who are eager to learn is really, really the key for a lot of it. I've slowly started creating a little bit side off of Riley's Rebuilds, where I go to colleges or high schools, and I start branching out, seeing who wants to come work for Riley's Rebuilds or who has an interest in auto industry. So I've been starting to connect college students who come out of college with companies who are partnered with us, or other companies who are interested in getting the youth in. A lot of kids don't understand that you don't have to be interested in cars to get into the auto industry. Like for marketing or business, you're still going to learn the catalog of whatever company you're marketing or producing for. And cars are no different than fashion or any of that kind of jobs. I originally saw this one girl who came back to our school and talked to it, and she was this most beautiful sorority girl in marketing, and she was working for a trucking company, and nobody saw it coming. But she was making good money because nobody would take that job, and she was the face of the business. Yeah. So
we had an awesome guest yesterday, Annette brought in from UTI, and we talked about that. There's a lot of other jobs within the industry, marketing jobs. There's not every job is working a wrench, right? And things like that, but you have to understand it. And you may have to start out rebuilding carburetors to understand, how the mechanics of things work, right? And then go to college and get into the business side, the marketing side of things like that. Have you had any of your people working with you, young people working with you, say, look, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go to college for this, and point them in the right direction with like UTI and other schools that are out there?
Yeah, the girls, not so much. Just they didn't have the passion for it. I think the little ones, I think Aubrey's definitely going to go towards it.
Yeah, for sure. We get a ton of that online.
Yeah.
A ton of young people that reach out, especially on Instagram and the other socials. that they're more on, and they're like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
How do I do
Right.
this? You know?
We do a lot of that too at like SEMA, where they're already in schools,
Right.
but they don't know how to actively get sponsored and start their businesses and all this different stuff. So it's more or less that kind of point of view, and then like we help them there.
Tell them about the Lewis and Clark school.
Yeah.
The college.
Yeah, so we went to I went to Lewis and Clark, and I did a demonstration, but it was with 12 kids, one girl. Girl was amazing. They paired me up with her.
Yeah.
And we just went around talking to everybody for a full day. It was a carving coffee show, and I just sat and everybody pelted me with questions about how to get everything going.
How to get in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a huge part of it, right? Is that you completely nailed it. One is that you're putting yourself out there. You're being vulnerable to say, like, here, I want to help. Not only do I want to get more, youth generation involved in it, but, females as well. And I want to help you understand that this isn't scary, that if you just understand like the logistics of how it all works together, or the mechanics of how it works together, like figuring out all those other little things kind of starts falling into place, right? But you have to start with a core, a basic of something, and then build around that. And the fact that you're going out and you're actively looking to, hey, how can I help you get more interested in this? This is how I got started, or what I did, I think is huge, because we talk about this all the time as it applies to younger generations of like, how do we get more generations that are interested in it, right? Like they don't know where to look, because Riley, exactly like you said, your school didn't have shop. My school, Barry's school, we both had auto shop, but nowadays that isn't something that is really prevalent. So kids who are interested in it don't have a resource. They don't have a place to start learning. Instead, they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to start modifying my car, and I'm going to listen to whoever my friend is who has honestly the most amount of money to dump into it, because they think that they're the person who knows the most about it. And that isn't always the circumstance, right? So I think it's really cool that you've kind of honed in and figured out different ways to be able to enlist younger generations and show them like, hey, this is absolutely possible. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. So Dane, and the same way with that, you have to have the business side of stuff. So Dane, you were talking about all the people working for Riley, and the first thing you do when they start working on the business side of thing with LLCs. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Riley's mom and I are business people. The car thing for me is a hobby. It's always been a hobby since I was like 16, but we are business people and we're business owners. And that, along with the mechanics, is like just a ripe playground for educating the next generation on how to run a business. It's not hard. It sounds huge. It sounds like an elephant that you're like, how do I tackle
it
this?
still sounds scary.
Yeah.
I'm actively
It can be intimidating for sure.
Oh yeah, trust me, it is.
Yeah. So what we do with the kids, first of all, like just to step back a little bit, when this thing went viral and all her friends were like, yeah, maybe I could come do that. And, Riley was in the garage like 24/7 and never out. I called a parents meeting with all the parents. And I said, look, here's what we're going to do. And here's kind of the ground rules. And we set like really strict rules on like social media I had to dress code the girls constantly.
We had a big dress code, especially for when we were posting.
Yeah.
He would send me and dress code them because they were my friends.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
We told the parents. We also dress coded social media actively. If they were working for us, they had to. I watched all their posts. I don't want to make you sound.
No, that's creepy.
That's creepy. But like, they're my best friends,
Yeah.
So he had them all on. He had them all start their own social media pages for auto
Whatever they
industry.
wanted to do. Right.
So like Dagny and Amelia are great artists. Right. So Dagny started pinstriping.
Nice.
Amelia was working a couple jobs, so she was not as much, but she also did a little Instagram.
Yeah.
And then Katie also started her own. She tried to start her own business for like custom drawings and prints, which was really, really cool. She also had her own car, so she was trying to get that sponsored. So, sorry.
So like the business side of it, like you have to start from a high level brand, right, you have to start with what's your brand? Like, what is it? And in the automotive industry, especially for them, they're 17, they're young. It was like, all right, we got to be the wholesome granddaughter, kind of brand. It's like you have to recognize that these are large corporations that have standards, and who they're going to work with and who they're going to sponsor and who they're going to promote has to match their brand. Right. Yeah. So if you're not going down the same, like, you have to seek out businesses that are with your brand, right? Yeah. That kind of thing.
And that was also originally our brand too. Like I said, our entire friend group was baggy jeans, baggy shirts, skater. We all skated. We all were surfers. So like the image you're picturing in your head is what we wore. So like that was originally our image. And also like it's difficult to come off as 17-year-olds who are possibly wearing volleyball shorts or tank tops. Like we came from school too. Our school had a very strict dress code. And he was just like, listen, guys, just stay in your school stuff. Yeah. We had to wear collared shirts at school and everything too. So he's like, just stay in that. Like there's no reason.
I know we're going off on some crazy tangents, but so the idea was, all right, so each of the girls had their own interests, and it was, all right, let's have every one of them start their own LLC. In Florida, it's like $125. It's super easy. It takes 10 minutes. I'm sure it's the same in other states or similar. Right. And they would start their own LLC on something that they liked. Like Amelia did photography and Dagny did painting. And then I taught them how to do business expenses, right? So anytime you're buying paint supplies, anytime you're traveling and you're taking pictures, save all of that, all those receipts, save all that money you spent. And we would give them 1099s from Riley's Rebuilds for the money that they generated. And then they were able to write off their expenses for their own companies. And they paid a lot less in taxes.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
One of the things that you talk about the business aspect, there's a lot of people out there, young people, that I feel that we want to educate to say, look, you can do this. You can start your own business, but you need to understand some basics of it. LLC, incorporation, getting a good accountant, paying your taxes, getting a lawyer, things like that. Those are a lot of things that there's so many people with a passion for what they do, no matter what it is. They may not know all that stuff, so they try to start a business and then they forget to pay their taxes and they're in trouble, right?
Right. Yeah, we would tell all the girls, but 20, because we paid in cash and we gave them 1099s. We were like, but 20% of this has to go to taxes. 20% goes into savings. Your spending money
you never touch until you got to give it to the IRS.
Exactly. Your spending money is the other 60. And that's that, again, kind of like that education thing.
What's also what struck everybody was we were 17, so we didn't have to pay taxes for the first year. Right. The business did, but because it was in his name. And that's a big thing too, which finds difficult for people who are under 18, is you have to find someone you fully trust. And I don't know, does it have to be a guardian?
I would think you would want it to be. But you're right. For bank accounts and things like that, you need somebody that's over 18 to just be on that stuff. And then kind of high level business thing. I mean, I know now we're going way off on a tangent, but on a high level business thing, there's a structure of gifting her the business in certain percentages each year, so that by the time she's out of college, she's 100% owner of it. And it's a tax strategy that is very, very high level, but it is something you can research really, really easily, is how to gift a child a business. Yeah. And it's just a really good structure. So.
Very cool.
I know I'm going off on this is in line with that, but something I wish I had 20 years ago is there's a book called Profit First that everyone should read that is in business. It's a really good book. We run our business by it now, and we've been way more profitable, and we can better know where the money is to pay the bills when the bill shows up, right? Expenses and income. It gets a little deeper than that. So that's often a big tangent right there.
I know. Yeah. I mean, the business right now is, again, it was a completely unexpected thing that we saw kind of coming, and we were like, ooh, okay, we can ride this wave or we can let it go by. But it's now, I mean, it's paying for college, like completely paying for college.
It's a 6-figure business.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, with that said, you went viral, right? We've met at SEMA. I've seen you on a number of shows. I think All Girls Garage, Stacey David. You're doing some stuff with Hemmings with your dad. Tell us about how did that happen? I mean, viral's one thing, but having people approach you I'm assuming they approached you and said, "Hey, come on the show." Tell us a little more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of it is yes and.
Explain that. That is a mantra. Yes. And.
So
I'm so proud, by the way. You are learning so much about it.
junior and senior year,
Aw.
it was just anything that anybody was like, do you want? Yeah, totally. When can I fly? And that, we were fortunate enough to I had major savings. I was never a big spender, so I just put everything straight into savings. So junior and senior year, we had the money to travel, and do things. And I had a school who was very
pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Knew that she was doing something bigger.
So I also
was
did
flexible.
travel soccer. So they were aware of that pre-hand of the business. So I was always gone. I've also been a very good student on my own. So I was actively doing classes while traveling. And I think that was the biggest thing was I had 217 absences out of 7 periods of school, which is crazy. That's like 60 days.
And still on a roll.
And I was straight A's, 3.0.
Still graduated.
That's like,
that's good stuff.
So
explain yes.
Yeah, so the yes and is we would see like Instagram stuff or shows and all this different stuff, and we would be like,
people would reach out and say, will you come to our car show?
Yeah.
Yes, and. So
are you in Florida at this time?
And what can we do?
Yeah, what can
to make it a better thing?
Can we tune there? Can we? And normally when you come across as like eager to help them, they return it and are eager to help you. So a lot of the time we'll be like, yeah, totally, we're there.
Yes.
And then they offer a booth or they offer a line of cars to. They offer, and we'd also go to local shows. We went to anything we possibly could around here. We would have friends say, oh, we're going here. Would you possibly want to come? I know it's in a different state, but yeah, totally.
Yes, and can we do this or whatever it is?
Right.
Yes, and can we? Yeah. Every magazine, every newspaper, every podcast, always. Yes, and.
Yeah. Even if you seem sketchy. Yeah.
There was a couple that no, and don't contact us again.
And then also, I would say it does take a very outgoing personality to. I think that is a big thing. I would say was my personality. I'm not trying to sound. Whatever. I can't say that word. But my personality is very outgoing. So if someone's like, go talk to them, I'm like, okay. Who are you? Hi, nice to meet you. I don't know anything about you. Right. And so we got invited to SEMA because when we went viral, Edelbrock helped us. Edelbrock and Holly and all the carburetor companies jumped on really quick.
Nice.
And Edelbrock was like, do you guys want to come to SEMA? And we were like, yes. Yes, and.
Yeah, it was really cool. Pause there, which is really amazing. So you're talking about the youth engagement, right? They were all 17. In SEMA, you have to be 18 to go to SEMA, right?
Yep.
So they called a board meeting.
Edelbrock.
Well, Edelbrock helped it. they knew a bunch of the executive team at SEMA. They called a board meeting and rewrote the bylaws to allow business owners 16 and over, just so that her and the four girls could go to SEMA.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible
amazing.
because I think that speaks volumes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the industry doesn't help adapt to make changes that will allow, like you said, for youth groups and younger generations to come in and help start it at a much earlier time. Because like, if you think back, like my era, Barry's era, Dane, your era, right? Like, that's just stuff that we did. Like we had auto shop, we had like all these different things that we could get involved in that seemingly have kind of just gone away.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have any issues with like, yeah, of course you can come, you know, it's auto related or whatever. But now as we've kind of moved and advanced with technology and with the like craziness of times, that has really kind of shrunk down a lot, right? And the automotive industry kind of went away from how do we really engage the youth, and they really focused more on this is what we have achieved and where we're going, but kind of forgot like how we got started and not thinking like at some point generationally we're going to age out, right? We got to keep bringing in new generations to help support it, to help keep it alive. And I think that that's incredible that you guys spearheaded helping them say like, hey, there's a value here. Even if it was something that Edelbrock went to them and said, look, there is value in Riley. There is value in their idea and their concept and everything that they've done. You guys were still that poster child to say like, here's how we can do it and here's why, right? And why it's important.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, being in ARMO for the last 2 years, the timing was perfect for you because in every meeting, we have a lot of discussions about youth engagement and how to get youth, how ARMO is going to go out and do youth engagement. Riley did an interview with one of our team members that was on the SEMA, that's on the SEMA website. So that was part of that. So it started at the top with the board, right, and came right all down through all the councils and networks, and we've embraced it. So you hit the timing was perfect for you because that was a topic of discussion.
To continue with your question, I would also say networking is a huge thing. Sorry, he's whining again. Networking is a really big thing. So like we would go to SEMA, we would get invited to an after party, and he would say, go and introduce yourself and tell your story to everybody in that place.
Anybody who will listen.
I would just run around as a 17-year-old, not really knowing who I'm introducing myself to. I'd come back and he goes, you know, that was the CEO of
Pennzoil.
Okay. Like,
that was rad, actually. It was really funny. So it was her and Katie. And again, business, right? You guys know that the most business happens at breakfast, lunch, dinner, after parties, in the elevator, in the hotel, in the lobby, right? When you're walking down the hall in the hotel and you see Stacey David, you're like, oh my God, that's Stacey David. And you have a chance to just stop and say hello. Like, that's business, right? If you're going to these trade industry shows and you're literally like 9 to 5ing it and you're on the floor and that's it, you're out, you're
never going to get it.
Never going to get it. Right. Yeah. It is 100% about all that extra going to the banquet, going to the dinner after the banquet, meeting Barry. Yep. You know, it's like that's where all that happens.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, Riley, I love the fact that you're just going to go meet these people. A lot of people, myself included, I've got over that, but CEOs, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, like the rest of us. Most of them in the auto industry, I've found, especially since being in ARMO, they're very approachable. You can have great conversations. Myself and two of my team members, after the HRA reception, we spoke to Stacey David for 45 minutes. And we're like, and we talked to Gene Winfield, got our picture with him. That was pretty cool. And he was awesome. So, you just have to get out there and have a conversation and not be scared to talk to people.
I was terrified most of the time, but it doesn't like. And the nice thing too is I think about it in a way that I love when people approach me.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't come off scary, but I love when people come and start talking to me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't even know who's around me or who's in front of me. I'm bad with faces. I'm bad with names. So I always am like, I'm sorry if I've met you before. What is your name? And it's just, you're a human. Everybody's human. And that's kind of, it's still hard to this day. Like, he'll be like, oh my God, Riley. Oh my God, that's my idol. And I'm like,
all right, I fanboyed a bunch. I'll agree with that. I fanboyed it.
or like Stacey Day, for example, right?
Go talk to Bogey.
I have a really funny story about him. Okay, so I'm running around with Katie in SEMA. Yeah. And he calls me, Riley, where are you? Where are you? And I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, come to the VIP, like,
where they were serving lunch
area. Yeah. That's where Queen goes, okay, listen. Stacey Davy, so right across it. I need you to introduce yourself and then call me over so I can meet him.
The wingman for Stacey Davis.
So Dad's using his daughter to gain access to.
100%. Yes. I am living vicariously through my kid.
Yeah, awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yes. And what happened? That was great.
Yeah, what happened was I talked to him. Like, obviously, I really wanted to talk to him too. And then the next day, he invited us to come on his TV show.
Come to Tennessee. It was at lunch. That's where all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
But what was really cool is you went over and you said, "Hi, Mr. David. My name is Riley," and he looked up and he goes, "I know who you are."
Yeah,
I follow you.
That's a whole nother feeling, right?
Yeah. I think that was kind of when you were like, "Oh, I might be a bigger thing than."
Yeah, that was a really strange one because at SEMA, the first SEMA, I had a couple people come up and talk to me, and then like all of Edelbrock knew me, which I was like, okay, that's kind of understandable. And then like these bigger name, my idols were like, oh yeah, I've heard of you. I've seen you on Facebook. I'm like, okay.
It's surreal, isn't it? Right? Where you're just like, oh, wow. And at the time that it happens, you're really just kind of like speechless. You're like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say. Thank you. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Like you're kind of stuck with what to say, right? But
I always say, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. It was funny when you fan bombed Bogey right before her big reveal of her Iron Maiden car. While she's
like 2 seconds before she went, I was like, Bogey, I'm a huge fan. Please come talk to me. She's like, after 5. And then she went on stage.
That's hilarious.
It's all about connecting with people. It's all about putting yourself on the line. And there's a way to do it. Yeah. There's definitely a way. You can't go into meeting someone thinking they're going to give you anything. Like, that is a huge thing that I've talked to with a couple people that are higher is they're like, everybody comes to me
with the hands out. Yeah.
Thinking I'm going to give them a TV show or going to give them all this fame, which is not how it works. You need to go into it being like, you're my idol and I just want to be your best friend. Please adopt me.
Please adopt me. We met with Mark Beatty. He works for Redline Oil. And he had a really great statement that kind of aligns with what you're saying is, obviously in the position that he is in, he gets a ton of people coming to him saying like, hey, we want to be sponsored by Redline Oil. Of course you do. Who doesn't? But when he like steps back and looks at that, the first thing that he looks at is, are you already doing business with us, right? Like, do you already use our product and do you already have experience before you come to me and ask for something for free or at a discounted rate, right? Because if you're just coming with your hand out, I have nothing for you. This has to be a mutual and respectful relationship. And exactly like you said, right? Like if you go up and you're just like, hey, so I want something, that's a turnoff. Like you wouldn't want somebody doing that to you equally. And I always look at that for my own business, right? Is that if support the people who support you. And that's like my motto baseline of everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then we were in the middle of college scouting. So I say finding business partners and interacting with people is kind of like that is you just don't give up. If you want to start a business that you want to work with, you send them videos. You show them that you really want to have their business. You keep emailing them. You email a bunch of different people. You tell your story. You introduce yourself once. And then you walk away. And then a month later, you introduce yourself again. And then a month later, you're like, oh my gosh, hi. I just wanted to say hi. I'm Riley again. I don't know if you remember me. And that's kind of a lot of people how I've gained a lot of people in my corner and sponsorships is I'll be like, I really want this. And it's a year. It's a year of working and
you have to build that relationship, right?
And that's a big thing too, is relationship. It shouldn't, how we look at it is it shouldn't just be business and business. It's friend and it's person to person, you know? It's like Edel Rock is a second family. They've offered us anything and everything under the sun, and they've been amazing. And I see a lot of their employees as like second brothers and uncles. Like they just are the sweetest family ever. And that will like always be our family.
That's going to be a go-to forever. And that again goes to the brand thing. Like Edelbrock, Moroso, the A&D, they're just good companies. The people are just quality people. They have quality products and awesome reputations. And that's like, you just have to know who you're aligned with. And it's okay if you want to go like, the goth side of things. Yeah, there are companies in the automotive industry that love that. And that's their brand. Go there. Yeah. That's totally cool.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You've probably seen that AMD, Jason Chandler from AMD was on the podcast, and they're really aligned with Motorhead Digital. We're building a drag and drive car that they've contributed heavily to. So we're good friends with them. They're amazing people. I've run into so many people. But Riley, I wanted to ask, you go to SEMA. You've been at SEMA. Are you a member of SEMA or any of the councils or networks like ARMO, SBN, or FLN?
We are members. We are part of SBIU and then SBN. We are slowly trying to get through panel work. I chalked up a really funny joke the second year of SEMA that I wanted to be the youngest president of SEMA.
And she told that to Mrs. Pendergast at
Really?
Yeah.
Current president of SEMA.
And she was like, done deal, let's get you going. And so we're a part of the pack, and
Nice.
We're slowly trying to see what I can do. I just turned 18, so not just I just turned 19, but 19. Like it was difficult at the time. I was younger, so it was harder to approach certain things, but I'm trying to get way more involved. So I'm really excited.
I think that I saw you when we did, so I did the SBN at, I want to say it was PRI. And I think you were at one of the roundtables that we did. I remember hearing your story. And so as you were talking, I was like, I'm pretty sure she was at one of the tables that I was moderating.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, doing all of when we brought the girls for the first year, I put them in every one of the female-oriented seminars. The Gear Up Girls, the SBN banquets, everything. And I didn't go in. Like I just was like, in the door, go.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're in a safe spot and they're gonna, they're gonna be handled with kid gloves and delicately. So it was just awesome. I mean, the internally within SEMA, the women's networking is incredible. I mean, SBN is just absolutely amazing.
I love SEMA for the fact that networking, like it's a networking show, but it's absolutely amazing. And I like how, I remember our first year, we went into one of the sessions and they were talking about how to get the youth in. I raised my hand. I was like, I'm 17, y'all. Like, before this, SEMA didn't have anything below 18.
Right.
So, like, looking inwardly before outwardly is definitely, like, it's a big thing,
It is. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And the fact that you were willing to put yourself out there and be that extrovert to say, I'm okay with being that face and being that voice and giving other people a comfort zone of sharing their voice, right? Younger generations, other females. And I do 100% agree with you, especially as it applies to SEMA and SBN, like that how they kind of embrace the women in the trade is so great. There's so many different things that we can get involved in to help other women come up and understand that there is a place for them. That yes, it is a place where, like guys did start this, but as we evolve and generations come up, that there's so many opportunities for women to get involved in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Riley, if you're headed for the president and things like that, start out, we just had elections for all the councils and networks. Those are done. But start out with, the nominations won't start until next May, I think, again. Mm-hmm. But definitely look next year and get on a council, become a member, get elected to a council. And you can only submit to one. So SBNC or FLN, even ARMO. But think about where you can help the most. That's when I looked at joining ARMO, I was between ARMO and HRIA. And I felt with my marketing skills and what we do, ARMO needed, at the time, needed more. I could help them more than HRIA. So I'm going in my second term as one of the best things I ever did. So that's a good starting point for you. I feel that if you're shooting for the top of SEMA, get on a council or at least start volunteering with SBN or a network. There's a lot of volunteering opportunities too.
Yeah. Damn it. She's shooting for the stars.
Heck yeah, you should. Go for it, girl.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annette Bauer Creative. At Annette Bauer Creative, we understand the power of visual storytelling in transforming brands and driving growth. From capturing the essence of your products and services to showcasing the unique solutions you offer, our professional imagery and reels help bring your brand to life. Fuel your brand and ignite your vision at AnnetteBauerCreative.com.
Yep.
That's very cool.
So I wanted to ask you about, some of the challenges and opportunities what challenges have you had? We've already talked about lots of opportunities. You've had a ton of opportunities, but as you've done this business and created this business and it's gone viral, what are some of the biggest challenges you ran into as a young person doing that, besides men looking down to you and going,
you're a female and you don't know anything.
Exactly. What were the challenges and how did you overcome those? And I'm sure you had a lot of guidance from your dad.
Yeah. The first one was definitely my age. It's very difficult to do a bunch of the business aspects as a minor. Another one was because of my age. A lot of people didn't take me seriously right away. Right. And that's why, at shows, I dress very business attire. You will see me in very nice pants and a blazer or, with a Riley's Rebuild t-shirt under. And in heels. I'm 6 foot. I will be 6'3" at shows. And that's, I think, to combat the idea that female and young, I come off more, I don't know, I feel like I come off more stronger. And if I come off more confident, people will take that more seriously.
Dress the part for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, difficulties. I would say probably balancing time was a really big one. Junior, senior year, I could actively do it a little bit easier because I was home. I could be with him all the time. We could talk about a lot of things. I was in the garage actively. I did have soccer, but I didn't. Towards the end of senior year, I wasn't really doing soccer because I had already signed to a college. And all my girlfriends were in the garage, so I wasn't pulled away. I wasn't a big social person, so I wasn't going out and doing anything. And with college now, I play for the school, so college soccer.
It's 3 months.
I'm gone. I am not there. Yeah. And then in spring too, it's also like that. I'm a triple major, so I'm doing math, physics, and engineering.
Oh my gosh, girl.
And I'm actively traveling while trying to sustain the business and the social media and the editing. Yeah. And he and Graham have helped a lot with that side. I have been like, guys, I'm out for the next 2 weeks. Like, I have finals. Like, you're just not going to hear my voice for the next 2 weeks. And
We can a bunch of social media content just to be able to draw from it when she's live.
That's smart, definitely.
that's a big thing is during the breaks or summertime, we'll come home. And so like right now, for example, I'm taking a 6-week calculus course, and it's Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, 4 hours, 6 to 10 p.m. And normally there's tests or quizzes every single day before. So normally it's 5 hours.
I don't know where this kid came from. I do not understand.
And so like I'm after this, I'm studying all day, and he knows not to bother me the entire day. So it's just the balancing of that. And I think because I've created such he obviously is my dad, but he's also my business partner. I like to say that too, is like that was a big thing coming into it as well, is people would be like, oh, your dad is doing it all for you. I'm like, no. Like the girls, for example, I was not yelling at them. I was being their boss, and they would be like, you're our best friend. Like, you can't be our boss. And so I was like, okay, Dane, you're bossing. So like, it's just
responsibility.
It's that responsibility, because I feel like I matured very, very quickly.
Staying on track, managing
time is
a big one. And staying on the social media aspect, because that's really the engine that drives this, is canning content. Like, just can as much as you can. And when you have free time, produce. Just produce and can. And just stick it in the box.
And be vulnerable, right? Like, that is actually how Barry and I met by that statement, is be willing to put yourself out there, and just, you never know what little piece you're going to build is going to resonate with somebody else, right? And again, like you'd said, Riley, sometimes when you're in that group of people, you have no idea who is around you, and you have no idea how far your voice carries and what weight it has with it. So anytime, like you said, you've got idle time. No, there is no idle time, because there's always opportunity to build content.
Yeah. And then another big one I would say would be sacrifice. Kind of like SEMA and PRI are right in the middle of my finals every year. It has been since junior year. And I've just had to be very open with my schools and communicate very well and know that I'm studying on the road.
Yeah, there's a lot of studying on airplanes and in passenger seat of the car. And it's a sacrifice.
And then like,
way to put it.
We also, with the yes ands and everything, like we have to sacrifice like some family time. Like we're actually getting our pro comp licensing, but it's during his birthday.
Next week.
So
that's actually a really good birthday present.
Yeah,
just
that's
saying.
pretty cool.
We talked about living vicariously through my car daughter. So we're going to Frank Hawley's drag school. So I'm getting licensed in a pro gas, and she's getting licensed in a pro comp.
Oh, I'm jealous. I always wanted to go to Frank Hawley's school.
He's happy, but mom isn't.
No, mom's like,
because mom's missing his birthday. But
mom needs to get her license too. Come on.
Yeah, mom is mom is not the car person, which really helps when random projects show up and she's like,
what's that?
Wasn't that car blue? No, it's been right all this time.
Yeah, I have a team member that has a motor in his garage with a blanket over.
Oh yeah. Well,
and his wife's setting up for a party and sets the pizza boxes on the engine and is like, just don't take the cover off because it's really not there. Wink, wink.
Right. Yeah. Nobody needs to know that. Yeah, the garage has become like the domain of Riley's Rebuilds, and mom comes in and delivers snacks and stuff to the kids, and does some video work and hangs out, and actually we have a really fun video. We just did a charity event, and
we brought a monkey,
and the charity was this like rescue farm, and she brought a bunch of like exotic animals to show.
Very cool.
And one of them was this little cotton top monkey. And
oh wow!
It's just Kara is videoing, and this thing is jumping from like shoulder to shoulder as the kids are working on carburetors.
Oh, I can't wait to see that!
And jump straight at her face while she's filming, and she lost it. She started screaming, running. It was fantastic.
I think
Oh
with
my
the
God.
difficulty aspect, going back to the question, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you've had such a difficult time in this industry." No, I
I
haven't.
know.
No,
No,
Right.
this industry
This
is
industry's
incredibly
amazing.
open
it's amazing
and willing to like.
to help, especially with the youth. And that's a big.
Yeah.
I always tell people are like, "Do you think you get like slashed down because you're a girl?" Like, actually, I think I do better because I'm a girl, because
Right.
I come off not as a timid female, and I come off knowing who I am and confident and wanting to rock the world. Like,
Yeah, you're all
everybody's
in,
willing
right?
to help and give the world. So it's just really all about how you present yourself. What do you do with your connections? And, like, not letting the difficult, mean words hit you.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Well, I mean, and confidence goes a really long way, right? But it also has a lot to do with you not only walk the walk, but you talk the talk, right?
until I make it. I don't think half the talk would be there. And people, like, sometimes, like, I tell people, like, I'm really bad with names and face. If you name drop, I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh, yes, I know them. But you just gotta make people feel heard and loved and
Yeah.
be a good human, and
Yep.
you'll get that back in return.
Oh, tenfold for sure. And Riley, you talk about your dad being your partner and people asking questions about that. He's your mentor also, especially in business, right?
Yes.
So having a mentor is huge. I have a number of mentors and still yet, and it's made a big difference in my life. And always look for these other people that you look up to and say, hey, teach me something, help me understand something, right? Because you can't know everything. And I will tell you, as your business grows, and you've already started it, don't try to do everything yourself. Focus on what you're an expert at and find the other people, like your dad and other people that are experts at certain things, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I have a bunch of different mentors that I'd say, like, Bobby's one of them.
That's awesome.
Alex is definitely one of them. A lot of the females in the industry.
Some also were incredibly generous with their time and their willingness to give that mentorship, to give that information. When she got offered the TV show with Hemmings, Alex said, "Send me the contract. I'll read it.
Right.
I'll tell you what I think." It's these.
Yeah.
That's incredible for someone to do in the industry.
All of them. Bobby, Stacy, David, Alex.
That's huge because they want you to succeed. They want the industry to move forward because we've talked about this, Annette and I, about there was a fear for a long time that the industry is going to die because a lot of people are aging out. It's just the fact of life, right? And we didn't see a lot of younger people coming into it. I do see a big shift in that. And I love the fact that your mentors, people that are young and old, are saying, hey, we'll help you. This is what you need to do. Think about it this way. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the people might be aging out, but the cars aren't.
No, they're
Cars
not.
are still here.
No.
And if we just get the next generation to see classic cars as cool again, somebody pulls up to their high school parking lot with a 69 El Camino, they're going to be the coolest kid in their high school parking lot. They're going
to go, what is that? That's neat.
Yeah. I don't care about the Teslas and I want to see that.
So funny story is my husband's nephew. His dad helped him essentially kind of rebuild and I don't know what year it is. I just know it's like an S10. And that was 100% like the era of, his dad and my husband. They both had, like those trucks when they were younger. And so now his son was like, oh yeah, that's super cool. I would love to do that as my build for my first car. And so he's got, like I said, he's got an older S10. And he said the other day when we were having a conversation, he was just like, all the kids at my school have new cars, right? That they have Teslas or they have, Camrys or they have whatever. And they're just like, your truck is really old. And he's like, yeah. And it's really awesome, but like he genuinely loves that truck and he genuinely loves what he's put into it because it is older and it's something that he put his hands on to build, not just something that was bought.
Yep. Yeah. That's definitely like, I went to, like I said, a very private school. And so everybody had the BMWs, Teslas, like
Yeah. And what did you drive?
Lambos, a 95 YJ manual that broke down every other day.
And how was it painted?
Like a Jurassic Park Jeep.
So it's like Lexus, Mercedes, Jurassic Park Jeep.
That's hilarious. That's pretty cool. But I'm glad
It was great.
you went with it. You loved it. You weren't intimidated by I'm driving this and they're driving all that. And that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to bring my
gosh,
Fairlane because I go to a very liberal private school again. And it's the same thing, but more.
You're going to get canceled at your college. If you bring that out
And
there.
I want to bring my Fairlane that will shake up the entire college.
Yeah.
Bring it.
She's building a 66 Fairlane, but when we were talking about style, I showed her a bunch of like 1970s street freak, like auto shop hot rods. She's like, that's what I want. So this thing is just awful. I mean, it looks terrible, but it's beautiful parts. It's making a little over 500 horsepower and
Nice.
it's rad. Yeah. She just got a nitrous.
Have you ever seen the memes and stuff on social of high school back in the day, and they show a Roadrunner, a Duster?
Right.
Yeah.
That was me. I had a 340 Duster and a 54 Chevy.
There you go.
That was all of us in school. Those photos are what I lived, right?
Awesome.
And nobody had new cars, and they were all muscle cars, and we all got in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of cool cars, we understand you have a cool project for the SEMA show. Can you tell us a little bit about that project without revealing too much? Just a little bit.
Yeah. So we've had the project in our family for a very long time.
Since you were
born.
Yeah. Since you were born.
Wow.
I have pictures of me working on it.
At like 3 years old.
Yeah.
That was one of the cars that she's walks in with a paper towel.
It's super special, and we were invited to reveal it at SEMA. So we're really excited about that. This is actually, we put all the cars on the back burner, and we are focusing on this one.
Yeah.
Because it needs a lot of work done on it. It needs a lot of love.
This one,
It's like half it. It's mostly it. So
this one, can we get the date in make and model? Is that all right?
No.
Okay. So that's fine. That's fine.
It's
So
old.
this
It's
one-
old.
Yeah, this one's old. This one is a real restoration. It's not Restomod or
Right.
hot rodded. It's a real restoration, and it's a frame off restoration. And I tell everybody this: I will never do it again. I am not the person for frame off restorations. I bit off way too much, and it has taken like 17 years to I am good with the big projects, like rebuild the motor. Awesome, I can do that. Rebuild the suspension, the brakes, the steering, all that. But when I get down to like this 6-point CAD plated bolt has to be twisted in this direction, I'm like, yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, well, at least you're finishing it. There's so many. You can go on Facebook Marketplace right now and see lots of builds that people just like gave up. I'm selling. There's a pile of parts. Have fun. Have at it. I give up.
We have been given a massive target and a massive challenge to get it finished to bring to SEMA. So you will see it done. I will kill my life if I have to get it done, but you will see it done. And
Well, you got 5 months.
Yeah, I know. She's in there a bunch. And what's really nice is the new generation that are building carburetors. They're on summer break, and they all want to work on cars. And so I'm going to have them help
restore it as well. So we'll have
Nice.
lots of little hands.
Yeah, definitely.
Team effort. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a bunch of, like, after my class ends, I'll be more in there
Yeah.
At the end of
and
this
working on it at the end of this month, which will be really good. But
Yeah.
I leave early August, so
I have her for like 45 straight days. So we're going to just, right now we're doing a
parts list of what we need to order. And then it's going to be just 45-day thrash
Yeah. So you're going to monopolize her time, Dad.
content. We're going to just bank
There you go.
content.
That's all it's gonna be for,
Yeah, for all our
for the next year. It's only
It's
gonna
only
be
gonna be
this
that car.
car.
Yeah.
Lots of long days and weekends, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that's the fun stuff. I mean, that's like, I wish I did a project like that with my dad so I could look back on it. And hopefully she does too. Yeah, she's 45.
That's a nice thing too, is everything's like documented. We do a lot of video. So it's like certain things we're like, oh my gosh, we did do that.
Yeah.
I have a really bad memory, a terrible memory. I can't remember what I ate last night.
I know where you're. Yeah.
Looking back on everything we've documented and what people have documented about us is, then I think that's part.
It's pretty awesome.
And I mean, truthfully, that's like another super cool part of it is, Dane, you made the comment about like, hopefully she looks back and says, hey, I got to do this with my dad, right? But also like expand that vision to think like all of those other kids that you have involved, they get to look back and say, hey, look what I got to do, right? Look what I got to be involved with, not just because Riley's my best friend, but because her dad took the time to teach me, to show me, to help me, to expand my knowledge and expand my vision of what my future could be. So like, kudos to you guys 1000% for taking that on. And sometimes you make impacts in places that you really don't even understand that you're doing because you're just doing what you normally do. So like hands up to you guys, like seriously, that's super cool.
Thank you. I think
That's awesome.
like, if we wanted to kind of go back a little bit to how do we get the youth engaged, honestly, like having this conversation kind of brought up an idea. You know, we've had this idea, Riley and I have had this idea called Open the Garage. And it's getting the older generation who's wrenching to open the garage to a younger generation. Their kids might not be interested. Their grandkids might not be interested, but there's some kid down the street that's building a go-kart that
100%.
would love to be interested, right?
Yep.
And as we were talking, I was thinking, like, how do we find the funnel? And it's like a cars and coffee is a funnel, right? If we can somehow package where the older generation that's going to cars and coffee with their cars can somehow almost like be on a registry or something, you know, where the younger crew in their town could say, you know, I'm interested in cars, but I don't have a parent who is. And, you know, somehow make that connection.
Yeah, you're not wrong. A great example is my husband's stepdad. He has like tons of cars, right? And he loves going to Cars and Coffee. He absolutely loves it. But he's got a decades of mechanical knowledge of working on cars.
Right.
But, you know, like all of the boys have all grown up and they all know about cars and they all do their own things with cars. But he still has so much knowledge that he could share and has stuff that he could show them how to work on it, right? But it just, like you said, there is no outlet for that. So I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
That's awesome. I think that is cool.
Very cool. Well, we have monopolized a lot of your time and you guys have been super great. Thank you so much for all of the information that you've shared, for helping not only us, but everybody in our audience fueling their success. And we always end our podcast with what we call a speed round. And we want 100% whatever comes to mind first.
Oh, gosh.
So we've got a couple of different questions for you. Feel free to like jump in and give your response. Again, whatever comes to mind first.
Well, how do you want us to do it? You want us to give one answer and then she gives her answer? Or
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right.
So one of the questions that we have is, what is your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Impact gun.
The T15.
Torx head. Because you use it all the time.
You didn't see that one coming.
No.
Right?
It's tiny little screwdriver.
Right?
It's the only thing that fits on our little rock carpet.
That's funny.
I love it. What's your favorite race driver, team, hot rod, muscle car, truck, whatever kind of rolls for you?
Oh, I'm a big Kyle Larson fan. That guy can drive anything. Put him in literally put him in like a soapbox derby car, and he's gonna win. That guy is amazing. Drives anything.
Yeah.
Yours?
Versatility of what you can drive is huge.
Yeah. AJ Foyt. That was look at AJ Foyt. That's who I grew up following, and he could drive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
That's so awesome.
You can ask the next question. Sorry.
No,
No,
go for it.
we
I want
wanna
to hear
know
what you
yours.
got. Yeah.
Probably, I always mispronounce
It's Zitterstrom.
Ada Zitterstrom. She actually just got moved over to the USA where, I don't know, can we say that?
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Tony,
doing
she's
the
going to work
licensing.
with
Tony Schumacher.
Schumacher. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're doing actually the Pro Comp licensing with her.
Yeah.
So that'll
Very
be really
cool.
exciting. That'll be
that's
really
awesome.
good content. So I'm really excited about that. She's really cool.
Yeah, she's very cool. I actually met her at PRI a couple of years ago, and I've absolutely loved watching her journey from Sweden to where she is now.
Mhm.
And I've just been like biting, chomping at the bit, like, hey, when are you gonna make your debut in NHRA? And she was like, it's coming.
Yeah.
So I agree.
It might be
100%.
this
I think that's
weekend.
super cool.
Annette, you have a task to get her on the podcast. Because
Yeah,
I
there you go.
Right?
connected with her on LinkedIn. That's about as much I've been following her for a while.
She's super
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
She's so nice. Actually,
She said
grab her fire suit. So I think her debuts at Brainerd, if they're racing there this weekend. Yep. So in preparation for our licensing, she sent Riley her European championship.
Oh, our FIA
That's
suit.
amazing. That's
That
awesome.
is so cool.
Really cool.
It is pretty rad.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it doesn't fit me.
I was going to ask you
She's a
that.
couple sizes smaller than me. So,
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so cool. Yeah, she's a very cool person. Like she is very understated, right?
one.
So like she's just super chill in the way she kind of holds herself, and her love and her passion for the sport is incredible. As somebody who, like, for me personally, comes from the racing side of things, I absolutely love what she's bringing to the table, and that is so cool that you guys have made that connection and that she's shared some of those things with you, because she's an incredible resource for you to be able to tap into. That's very awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited.
Let's see. This is always like a big question. And this maybe you can reflect on something maybe your dad has shared, or maybe something from somebody else. But what is the best advice you've ever received, and who is that from?
Goodness. I'm waiting for you. I want to hear this. Best piece of advice.
I'd probably say the yes and from him. I think that's gotten us everywhere that we've.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
My best piece of advice is just start. Just try.
Yeah.
Just try. I mean, you can learn anything on YouTube. I swear you
Oh
can
my
learn
gosh,
anything on YouTube. You might have to fish through, some of the junky videos, but you will find in our industry, you will find people that are just dying to give you that knowledge, and just you can learn anything.
You are not wrong, man. You are not wrong. You can virtually learn anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just take some of it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly. Just get through some of the ones that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Riley, what about you?
Fake it till you make it. That's a big one too. Yes and fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know who that'd be from, but just kind of be yourself.
Right.
But
And be willing to get in there, right? And
yeah,
get your hands dirty
be
and-
willing to put your neck on a chopping plate. Not in the bad way though.
Right.
Don't
Be
do
vulnerable.
something that you could possibly regret.
Yeah, man.
Always be nice.
Exactly. And don't be scared to fail either.
Oh, this is a big one. I learned it from him.
Oh.
Be nice to everybody in the elevator.
Yes. Yes.
Never
You
heard that
never
one
know
before.
You
who
never
are
know
sitting
who
next to.
you're next to.
That's
I
right.
can't say I've heard that before either,
Yeah.
but that is great advice.
Yeah.
You never know. All right. And then maybe do you have, that's a better way to say it. Do you have a favorite auto event, car show, racetrack, anything of that nature?
You first. You go.
I need to think here.
Okay.
You go.
I love going to Sebring for the 12-hour race.
Okay.
That, from a racing standpoint, is still redneck. It is still like it is still walk around with your beverage and just enjoy the track everywhere. It's not super corporate. People still erect scaffolds and put couches up top with refrigerators and live there for 2 days. It feels like what I think Sebring and those races were in the 70s, and before it's just not like homogenized. It's still just super fun. And I won't bring her because it's me and a bunch of my buddies going, and I don't listen, plausible deniability. I don't need my kids to.
Yeah. You'll love our producer then. He goes to Watkins Glen a lot and takes his couch on wheels. It's got a stereo, a cooler.
That's hilarious.
It's a recliner couch. It's pretty freaking rad.
Yeah.
I would say mine is probably our local track. So it's Cletus's Bradenton.
Oh, yeah.
Factory. Bradenton, yeah.
I grew up going with my buddies there every Thursday and running our cars and then going out to not takeovers.
Thank you.
Car shows and all that just fun stuff.
Yeah.
Just like that track was also like where we would go. We've done a bunch of content there. We've met a lot of people that we look up to there. So I really like that track.
That track is setting records left and right. Just constant.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's the air or what, but I mean, everything. The most recent one was Bob Tasca just set the world record there. We were there for the race. It was fantastic. I bet Graham, my 14-year-old, sorry parents, I bet him $100 that Tasca was going to break the world record. And it was, for not Tasca, it was anybody who was going to break it. And it was literally like race. It's like 9 o'clock at night. The last race.
The air comes in.
Yeah, the last race, and Tasca beat it by like 2 miles an hour. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, it's honestly, in those circumstances, it's the perfect storm, right? You have the absolute perfect tune-up. You've got all of the atmospheric conditions that come into play. Your tuner knows exactly what's happening on the track, what the traction is, meaning what the track is pulling, and whoever that driver is, just be in sync with everything that's happening with the car at that moment, right? There's nothing missed, and it is the perfect storm for all of those things to happen, and it is pretty freaking magical. Like it's really cool. So and like Bradenton is like, it's a great track. It's got all of the best of things, and so it's really cool to be able to see those things when we see those drivers make those monumental jumps and stuff.
Well, if you're ever in town for a race and you want a home cooked meal, just give us a call.
Aw, thanks.
What is on my bucket list to go to the next race with fuel cars?
Yeah. When they first announced that they were doing that, the pro shootout, my first reaction was that track is not long enough for that. Because we haven't had top fuel in Bradenton in 20 years.
You know why they did that? Why they specifically did it at that time with those cars? It's because they're trying to build homes right next to it, and they were trying to prove how loud it gets on that track, and how the people are going to sue everyone because there was like all this like siren stuff.
With Freedom Factory and everything,
they're going to have headphones on as they are actively living.
Yeah, living.
The unfortunate part is as much as, and I know this because we've just gone through this in our local track, is as much good things as the racetrack does bring, unfortunately, residents always win out. They just always do, right? Developments do, because areas have to expand. It is the economic basis of a town or a city, and what happens at the racetrack is something fun. And as far as a majority of the residents care, it's not something that they care about.
Right.
our local track, for example, had been in business for over 50 years, was there long before there were actually any residents in the area. There was actually an air base in our area that shared that same space. And the air base had been there for decades and decades before, that even the track had been there. And they decommissioned the air base. And then now they just, in January of this year, they closed our racetrack because all the residents just kept creating issues. And it was a no-win situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a circle track here, and I think it's an 8th mile track that is running into the same issues where the town council is saying, well, you have to make it quieter and you have to limit your hours and all that. And I made a comment on the local news Facebook page that says people need to do their homework before they move somewhere, because that track's been there way before there was houses there. And if you didn't do your homework, is it the track's fault? Not really. Right. Okay. I know Cletus did a whole piece on, hey, this is where the line is. There was never supposed to be development past this point. Now they're going to surround the Freedom Factory and Bradenton with houses. And, I know they went in, that's raised a lot of awareness, but it's tough to stop it. It's ridiculous, right?
You were at the council meeting.
There was a line of 200 people wanting to talk. And the entire time the council was like, we're with you guys. And then they voted
against it. Yeah. The whole time.
The entire time.
Yep.
The whole time.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the really sad and scary part about it. And the thing that we really were pushing for our local county and city to understand is, one is the jobs that you're taking away. Granted, it's not a massive, job opportunity, but it still brings jobs to the community. But more importantly, it gives the youth a place to express themselves, right? And do it safely. Because I keep saying, I told everybody in discussions that we have, I was like, hey, I understand your noise complaints. I get it, right? And we've done so many different things to be compliant, like Barry said, where we reduced hours. We, especially during the week, like anybody who ran had to have mufflers, like all these different things that we tried to combat that. Yeah. But at the same time, like when you close that racetrack, all of those people who used to come race at the racetrack now are going to go back to doing it on the street because that's what they do, right? Like there is no law that you're going to pass that's going to make them say, hey, I'm not going to do that, because we already have those laws, especially in California for me. And they're willing to take that risk for their car to get impounded, for them to have fines. They don't care, like that's their freedom of expression.
Yeah, and that's where NHRA started out that way, to get that and the safety safari to get kids off the street. Yeah. And now we're heading in the other direction because of development and tracks closing. There are some tracks opening, which is good, but we really have to wrap this up here. So we could talk all day, right? And I know Riley's got some homework to do. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Riley and Dane, for joining us. Yes. And Riley, remind us, listeners, where they can find you, how they can reach out, how they can learn more about Riley's Rebuilds and everything you're doing, and even where you might show up at a car show or an event.
Yeah, so everything is Riley's Rebuilds. So it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Shopify is our website. So it's Riley's Rebuilds Shopify. That's where you can purchase services or carburetors. Nice. And then you guys can DM us, email us. We have a team who sees and returns emails. And if it's super specific to certain things, they send them straight to me, or I'm always on there as well. And then our phone numbers are up there as well.
Very cool.
And we'll be at SEMA this year with a finished car. That's going to happen.
Well, I look forward to seeing your guys' reveal.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It's been super cool. I love everything that you guys are doing. I love that your guys' relationship is what it is and has built and gotten you to where you are. So congratulations. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.